Okay, so the New England Patriots will be kicking off our power rankings for Week 7. Worst team in football. I mean, they got their butts beat up by the Texans. And the Texans, you know, they're one of the better teams in the NFL. We've just been questioning their ability to close out games and not really to close out games, but just to really put teams away that they should be putting away and beating them the way they should be beating them. They did it to the Patriots this weekend. Patriots, really tough weekend, really tough outing, tough season, long season for the Patriots. I don't think there's any contention for them being the worst. Well, I mean, as I'm saying that, I'm looking at the Jaguars number 31. I mean, Jaguars getting absolutely smoked by the Bears. It felt like the Jaguars were in this game once in a while. It felt like, they maybe had a chance at some point. But then, then again, the Bears just pulled away. Caleb Williams looking too good. I mean, that Jaguars defense looks so much worse on the field than it looks on paper. Jaguars are definitely down there deserving of 31. Maybe even deserving of 32, but I cut them a break. They got the win last week versus the Colts, so I cut them the break. And Jaguars and Patriots down here at 31, 32. Then you have the Panthers at 30. Panthers, I mean, it felt like they were keeping up with the Falcons at some points. Kind of like the Jaguars and the Bears game a little bit. Like, at least the Panthers gave some competition to the Falcons. They didn't just let the Falcons go and, romp them and dominate them. No, the Panthers put up a little bit of a fight. The offense looked all right. I thought the offense made a couple of nice plays. They were looking all right. But, yeah, Panthers are moving up one spot to 30. Raiders moving down one spot. What a horrible outing versus the I'm blanking the Steelers. I mean the Steelers offense has not been very good. It's been very lackluster. Field hasn't been great, but I mean this Raiders defense. Max Crosby can only do so much. He's one of the best players in football. The best player in defense in football. It's just unfortunate that he has absolutely no help. If he had a little bit of help, this defense would be that much better. But Max Crosby can't do it all by himself, man. There's 11 guys on each side of the ball for a reason, and one guy isn't going to be able to make it. Isn't going to be able to win football games for you and automatically just make that side of the ball better. No, he can't. No, it's just not possible. But the Raiders moved down one spot. They got beat up pretty bad by the Steelers. Offense didn't look good either. I mean, the Steelers' defense is pretty good, so whatever. That was expected for the Raiders not to be able to score too much in this game, but the defense really, really was disappointing beyond belief in this game. But, yeah, the Raiders are down one spot. And it's kind of rare to move the Panthers up, considering they lost. I'm going to point that out real quick. But the Jaguars look so bad. Maybe I could have even afforded to move the Panthers up to 29. But that's where we have the composition right now. Arizona Cardinals moving down one spot. I mean, this is a team that's too inconsistent. You don't know what you're getting from week to week. They beat the Niners in one team. They get the snot pounded out of them versus the Packers. There's nothing that they did versus the Packers. That game never felt close. Never at one point in that game did it feel like that game was close or the Cardinals had a chance maybe coming back into it or, just keeping up. No. Cardinals are absolutely horrible. Offensive line not looking good. Playmakers are too inconsistent. Defense is really bad, really inconsistent. It's just, in general, this Cardinals team, very inconsistent when they're on and playing really well and playing at the top of their game. Yeah, this team is a good football team, but they're too inconsistent. So they moved down one spot after just getting absolutely pounded by the Packers. But they're not moving down too much because they do have somewhat of a resume beating some good teams. Heck, they just beat the Niners, but still really disappointing. Go out and beat the Niners, and then you get beat up by the Packers the way you did. Dolphins move up 2 spots. I mean, they're on the bye, but the other teams just look so bad. I had to move the Dolphins up. So Dolphins catching a really nice bye week, in my power rankings. Titans at 26, they're staying put. I mean, what a disappointing game for the Titans. They outplayed the Colts for majority of this game. They ran the football well. I don't know why they kept trying to win the game with Will Levis, putting the game in Will Levis's hands shoulder, because obviously that doesn't work. Will Levis is not a good quarterback, has not been good, has not been able to evolve his game and adapt to defenses as they're getting more film on, as they're learning his game a little better. And he's not very accurate. He doesn't see the field well. I mean, he holds the ball way too long. I just don't understand why you don't run the football more. I mean, the Colts couldn't stop the run to save their lives. Tony Pollard had like 5.5 yards per carry. Tajay Spears did go down, but I don't know why he still didn't keep running with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was getting 4, 5, 6. 7 carries a pop. I don't know why you stopped running. I truly believe the Titans kept on running that football, they would have won that game. Very poor coaching, very poor decision making to kind of give up on the run late in the game like that, or just not keep running the football, keep pounding the football. Colts couldn't stop it. So why stop doing it yourself? Why put out a fire that's still burning? You know what I mean? I don't understand that at all. The Titans should have won that game, but didn't. They're staying put considering they outplayed the Colts majority of the game. But I didn't feel the need to move them down over any of these other teams. I mean, they did just pummel the Dolphins a couple weeks ago for that, but yeah, they'll be staying put at 26 here. The Browns at 25. I mean, they put up their first good outing against the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are the Eagles aren't crazy this year. They're okay. They're very mediocre, if you ask me. But you talk about the Browns. The Browns are one of the worst teams in football. Even though they're sitting here at number 25, I just didn't feel. I just couldn't find the room to move them down. I couldn't find the room to move them around here. But yeah, the Browns are gonna be moving down. As long as they keep playing the way they are, man. I mean, I thought they played a little better against the Eagles. I mean, the defense showed up a little bit. It felt like the offensive line was actually caught some kind of fire. I mean, they weren't playing great, but they were playing all right, very average, but just very, I mean, I felt like they were doing better on third downs in this game. Seemed like they did a little better on third downs, but regardless, you lost to the Eagles, and you made it a competitive game. I think there was a blocked kick, so that kind of kept them in the game too. But yeah, this Browns team, not a good football team. I feel like 25 is actually pretty high here, but I just haven't found the room to move them down. Maybe they should be down all the way below the Dolphins there, move the Dolphins and the Titans up one more spot, maybe something like that, but maybe even below the Cardinals. I mean, they're bad. I just, I don't know why I didn't put them. I don't know why I didn't move them. I probably should have. Looking back on it, whatever. 24, the Giants staying put. I mean, the defense looked good. I have no doubts about this Giants defense. The defensive line is elite. Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, you have all these guys in the defense line that can really get after their quarterback, and you did. You made it difficult on Joe Burrow all night long. Joe Burrow had to get the ball out quick. But the offense, even against a defense that everyone has been absolutely going off against in the Bengals defense, you couldn't do anything. And it just goes to show how incompetent Daniel Jones is as a quarterback at this point. I mean, you have good. I mean, he has all right weapons. They're not great. They're all right. You have Neighbors. You have Slayton. You have, you have Daniel Bellinger at tight end. They can't really get the run game going. Offensive line isn't really great. Very unfortunate loss. Very unfortunate Sunday Night Football loss. Just, they're not one of the better teams in the league this year. We know. It's just that offense. If their offense was somewhat competent, the Giants would be a decent football team. They really would. Colts, it's kind of like the opposite with the Colts. If they had a somewhat competent defense, they would be a better football team. And I know, they did just beat the Titans, so I'm kind of coming out, being tough on the Colts right away already. But they're very fortunate they won this game. They won this game because of very bad decision making, and the decision did not continue to run the football on the Titans. And I just don't understand why they don't. I mean, the Colts' run defense is one of the worst in the NFL, probably the worst. They can't stop the run for the lives of them. And on top of that, their secondary is bad as well. No experience, nothing there. It's it's just no. There's absolutely no defense. The offense is way too inconsistent. They're very fortunate that they played Will Levis. I really believe if they played Mason Rudolph that they would have lost this football game. But yeah, kind of rare to move a team down one spot when they win. But it's the way the board fell and the way the game was played. I wasn't too thrilled. The Titans outplayed the majority of the game. Fortunate to win, but they did win. It was a tough division win. They did whatever. But the Cowboys went to the Cowboys at 22. I don't know why I have the symbol that they didn't move. They moved down quite a bit from 17 to 22. You just got your rear ends kicked by the Lions. I mean, the Lions were able to do whatever they wanted on you. Couldn't play any defense. You couldn't really do anything. I mean, you couldn't. get anything going on offense. The Lions were just toying with them and then trying different things. But yeah, Cowboys not a good football team this year, man. I mean, I knew they weren't as good as last year, but the offense was very CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. You can't really run the football. You can't control the game. Can't control the pace of the game. Dak Prescott has not really played that good either. Defensive wise, like I said, this is a bad defense. They have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and if you can't stop the run, then that's one of the easiest things for an opposing offense to do is run the football. And if you can't stop the run, it makes the entire game that much more difficult. It's going to limit the possessions for the offense. It's going to tire out that defense. It's going to make it that much more difficult to defend against the pass. It's a recipe for disaster. And then they can't run the football either, so they can't sustain drives to give that defense some rest. It's just a Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb show. I mean, they're going to beat up on bad teams, yeah, but when they play against some of the more complete teams, even teams that just, you look at and say, hey, they don't have a hole, but they're not great. That's a team that the Cowboys will absolutely struggle against because they can't run the football. They can't stop the run. And it's a Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb show. That's really all their offense is at the moment. And the offense line isn't as good as years in the past either. It's just not there. But the Cowboys really, really disappointing. I mean, I even said going into that game, I didn't think that the Cowboys stood a chance. I really didn't. The Lions match up so well against them. It was such a bad matchup for the Cowboys. But, yeah, they're moving down quite a bit. I think that's like 5 spots. So, yeah. Will they get their act together? Will they get their crap together? Because, the Commanders are looking like they're going to take that division pretty easily, if you ask me. Giants, like I said, don't really have an offense. Cowboys, very incomplete team, can't stop the run. Makes everything else that much more difficult. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb show. And we'll talk about the Eagles in a little bit. Broncos at 21. Disappointing outing for the Broncos, man. I mean, really couldn't get anything going with Bo Nix. Bo Nix couldn't get going. They just had a rough day. The Chargers just had a better day than them. I think that the Chargers and the Broncos have similar play styles, but fortunately the Broncos just couldn't get anything going. Couldn't get anything going on offense. Their defense couldn't make an extra play, but their defense is still very good. But, we're going to get weeks like this from the offense where it's like, what are we doing? It's going to be tough offense. I think this Broncos team is going to be good the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to be great, but they're a good football team. Down here at 21, that may not say so, but, and it was a divisional game, very tough divisional game. Anytime you lose a divisional game, that's tough as well. It makes it even worse, but, yeah, they're down 2 spots after a rough outing versus the Chargers. Rams on the bye, they don't move. Saints are down 6 spots. I mean, I think they allowed, the most yards or the second or third most in franchise history. They allowed 50 points. There's a point in this game where they were back in it. They were down 17-0 after the first quarter, and they make their way back in it. And I think they had a lead at one point. But then in the second half, you just fell apart again. This team is way too inconsistent. They're way too sloppy. The first 2 weeks, they were the most dominant team in football. Now they're looking like a bottom 12 team in football, bottom 13 team in football. They're not looking good. They're barely top 20 football team at the moment. I mean, defense is looking like crap, and the defense is supposed to be their strength. I liked what I saw from Spencer Rattler. I love Spencer Rattler. I think he has a future there, but just wasn't enough in this game. That Bucs defense was able to overwhelm him in his first game. Bucs offense, they were able to run the football, at will, even without Rashad White. Bucky Irvin really killed it. Saints, just a really bad, disappointing outing for the Saints. So, yeah, is what it is. The Bears are up 5 spots. I mean, Caleb Williams, he has been fun to watch the last couple weeks. I'll say that. I was doubting the kid coming out of USC, and I'm not even gonna say it this week. I'm not even gonna go that way. I'm just gonna say, hey, I'm gonna give him his flowers. He's been playing really well. He's been a lot of fun to watch, and it's been exciting. Could he keep on doing it? Okay, I kind of did it there, but could he keep on doing it? Could he do it against the better football teams? We saw Joe Flacco and the Colts really put it being on that Jaguars defense, but nonetheless, Caleb Williams and that, in that Bears offense have been picking up lately. Shane Waldron has been doing a better job. Caleb Williams has been looking better. I mean, he's got the weapons. You got some decent running backs. The offensive line played really well too, especially and you're going into London. Jaguars second home. Jaguars always play better in London, but the Jaguars are just that bad of a football team. But yeah, I mean, that defense of the Bears is one of the better defenses in the league. And I've said it since the beginning of the season. They have a really good defense, a really strong defense. And, if they could get things going on offense just a little bit, they're going to be all right. But we got to see how they're going to do against better teams on the stretch here now. 17, Seahawks moved down 3 spots. I mean, they're on a 3-game losing streak, so they're fortunate they're not down more here. And they did play some really tough football teams. I mean, they played the Lions, they played the Lions and the Niners, but then you lost to the Giants as well. So you're very fortunate that you're only down 3 spots. You're not moving down more. But yeah, it feels like the offense was a little predictable. Feels like they're couldn't really get anything going. They weren't really organized. Just offense not looking good, man. Geno Smith and that offense is too predictable. They're gonna run the football a lot. Geno Smith isn't a game changer. He's not a great quarterback. He's all right. He's not great. But yeah, Seahawks moved down 3 spots. They're on a bit of a losing streak here. But then you move on to another NFC bird. So it was a better week from Jalen Hurts. Seems like the bye week helped them maybe regroup and recuperate a little bit. Will this defense look better down the stretch? Will it continue to improve? I mean, it did play the Browns. You can't really take too much away when you're playing the Browns offense. The Browns offense is one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst. And the Eagles defense did a good job. Pressuring Watson. Although I will say that the Eagles defense line is still disappointing for how bad the Browns offensive line has been. I would have expected a lot more pressure. I would have expected the Browns not to be able to run the football as well as they did. I mean, regardless, the defensive line still got 4 or 5 sacks, I think it was. But they still got a lot of work on. That game was they played a really bad Browns team. But it's a win nonetheless coming out of the bye. Looking to improve on it. I don't think Jalen Hurts turned the ball over this game, so that was good. But yeah, they're staying put. Then if you'll need to move them up or down. The Bengals, they're up 6 spots. I mean, I get it. They played the Giants, all right? I understand why you may think, okay, this is a little too much. This is a little too high. A little too many spots moving up. You're going a little crazy. I get it. But at the same time, last couple weeks, they played some great football. I mean, they did, versus the Panthers, it was a little closer than it probably should have, and that's the Panthers. And yeah, their 2 wins are against 2 very bad football teams. But let's not forget how close they have been in almost every single game. They were right there with the Chiefs. They were right there with the Ravens. So they've been in it with the best teams. It's just the way that their team is. Joe Burrow has to play damn near perfect almost every single game, especially when you're playing the better teams. He needs to win, for the Bengals to win. Because the defense is not very good. The offensive line is inconsistent. I mean, he has great weapons. Don't get me wrong. He has great weapons there. So it's easy to get the ball out quick, the guys that you can trust. But the Bengals, they've kept it close with some of the better teams in the NFL. And, now they beat the Giants, getting the ball out quick. And with a Giants team that has really good defense. Now, the Bengals defense would look better, but the Giants offense has not been good. But, this is a good confidence booster. It's a good way to kickstart the Bengals and get them back in the win column this week once again. So the Bengals are up 6 spots. 14 are the Chargers. Like I kind of said earlier about the Broncos, I mean, they both have similar play styles. Both can run the football pretty well. Both offensive lines are all right. I think the Chargers' offensive line is a little better, but the Chargers getting healthier again. Coming out of the bye, they were able to do what they needed to do. I mean, Herbert looked pretty good. They did a very good job against a very tough Broncos defense who has killed everyone. They gave the Jets fits. They gave the Bucs fits. Both of those teams struggled. I don't think the Bucs reached 10 points. I think they had 9 points. And I think the Jets had like 10 points or something like that. 2 really good offenses And then the Chargers were able to come to town, and the Chargers were able to say, nah, we're going to break that mold. Justin Herbert looking great, getting his weapons going too. Good stuff for the Chargers. All right, at 13, we have the Steelers moving up 2 spots. I mean, let's be honest. Justin Fields looked freaking good against the Raiders. Steelers defense was great. They did a very good job as we expected them to. The Raiders offense isn't really too good. And their offense took the day away. Their offense never let that game be close. From the first snap, from the first drive, that offense was firing on all cylinders. Fields was looking good. Najee Harris was running really good in this game too. So Steelers getting better every week. Still having their rough spots. I mean, they lost to the Colts and the Cowboys 2 weeks in a row. But this is a Steelers team that is going to get better as the season goes on. As the more Justin Fields is in that system, the longer he gets with those weapons and learning the offensive linemen and all that kind of stuff, I think the Steelers are only going to get better as the season goes on. Really good defense, one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the NFL, and a young offense that is very difficult to game plan for. 12. Commanders moved out 1 spot. They kept it close, man. They answered a couple questions, but that big one is going to remain over their head. They have to beat one of those juggernaut teams. They have to beat one of those better teams in the NFL to be considered one of the best in the NFL. Now, they have been a very good football team. They have been one of the better ones, but you can't say one of the best until they find a way to beat one of those better football teams. That's just how I view that. But nonetheless, they're still very impressive so far this year compared to what we thought what they would be. Didn't think that the Commanders would be a very good football team coming into this year. Look at them. They're playing some really darn good football. They're 4-2? Yeah, they're playing some good football. Commanders sitting pretty at 12. Jets moved down 1 spot. Now, I was impressed by this Jets team versus the Bills. I was impressed with the passing offense. Felt like a lot of teams have been struggling to pass the ball on the Bills. And I thought the Jets did a very good job. I thought they did very well passing against the Bills. Very unfortunate end of the game. But I saw a lot of good things from this Jets team versus the Bills. One of the better teams in the NFL. One of the more difficult teams to go up against. Josh Allen, really good defense. Now, they ran the football well. The Bills don't have a good run defense. That has struggled so far this year. But the Jets, they're only moving out 1 spot. And I know they're 2-4. So how are they at number 11 at 2-4? But they've played some good football. They played some really difficult teams. They played some tough teams, man. I mean, the Bills and the Vikings, that's tough. Now, they lose the Broncos. They lose the Broncos a couple weeks ago. But they've kept it really close against some of the better teams in the NFL and the Bills and the Vikings. So, giving them a bit of a break here. They lose next week against the Steelers, they're going to plummet. They're going to go down like 8, 7 spots. They're really going to get pushed on the board. So I'm really giving them a break here. I shouldn't be doing this, but I am. Because this team is a very good football team, and they kept it very close against 2 very good teams, the Vikings and the Bills. So, and they're looking better too. Did a very good job passing the football against the Bills. Very good job. Number 10, Falcons. Even though that game was close throughout the game, even though the score doesn't really show it, that, it felt like the Panthers were sticking in there. But at the end of the day, Falcons defense showed up when it needed to. The offense looked like the Falcons offense. Falcons are looking really good right now. So they move into the top 10 for me. 9, you have the Niners. I mean, looking like themselves. The only thing I would really knock about the Niners right now is I think they're struggling to finish games. They're struggling in the fourth quarter. They're kind of allowing teams to get back into the game, and that's not good. You got to be able to finish games. You got to be able to put that nail in the coffin, and they haven't been able to do that. I think they're a little too aggressive in the fourth quarter, but nonetheless, beat the Seahawks, division rival. The Seahawks did attempt to get a comeback there, but didn't. But Niners are staying put. Bucs are up 2 spots to 8. Man, What an insane Bucs team. They look freaking incredible. They look freaking great. So 51 points against, that Saints defense, that Saints team in general has been very sloppy, very inconsistent in certain parts of their game. But now, now letting up 51 points, the Bucs offense had their day. They did whatever they want against that Saints team. Now, I thought they were a little inconsistent in this game. They went up 17 points first quarter, then let the Saints get back into it quickly, and then the Bucs pulled away once again. So that was interesting. I would like to see the Bucs be a little more consistent throughout the game, but Baker Mayfield offense so damn explosive. And Bucky Irvin stepping up big time with no Rashad White. Bills are down 2 spots. So I didn't do power rankings last week. They did beat the Jets, and the Jets are, like I said, the Jets are a very good football team on paper. They're freaking awesome, and they've been playing better. They've been playing better on the field as well. But the Bills down 2 spots because they lost to the Texans a couple weeks ago. So this power rankings is, a combination of last week and this week's. I didn't do them last week. I, just wasn't able to. But yeah, I moved them down 2 spots because of that. They lost to the Texans. I'll boost the Texans above, ahead of the Bills because of that. But nonetheless, the run defense, that's my worry with the Bills. The run defense is not very good. Feels like the Jets were able to figure some out against their passing defense as well here. So it's something to keep in mind. But, the Jets were able to run the football really good on them. And then they were able to pass the ball too. Riders had a really good day. Really efficient day. So it's something to keep your eye on. But moving them down 2 spots because of the loss versus the Texans a couple weeks ago. But yeah. Bills at 7. Texans at 6, moving up 1 spot. Beat up on the Patriots pretty good. Pounded up on the Patriots pretty good. Worst team in football, yeah. They should. And then they beat the Texans the previous week. Texans, they're hot. Good football team. Strong offense. Clutch quarterback. Clutch defense. Joe Mixon being back, that's a big help. That's a big boost to the run game. And then you got the Packers at 5. Packers, very dominant. Such a dominant football team. They're only getting better as the season goes on. Now that Jordan Love is back, Jordan Love is getting back to 100%. That game never felt close. The Packers put the pedal to the metal, and that was it. From first drive, from the first quarter, they put the game away. The Cardinals never stood a chance in that one. All right, the Ravens cooling off a red-hot Washington Commanders team. Good day for the Ravens. I thought that they did a very good job stopping the run. They only allowed 50 yards a game for the game. Passing-wise, running-wise, they basically did whatever they want most of the time. Almost 200 rushing yards, ran the football like there was no issues. Didn't let the Commanders get in the field too much. Didn't let them, get a rhythm on offense. They held the ball for a long time in this game. Felt like they had the ball almost the entire game, truly. Very rarely the Commanders had it. And the Commanders still made it a close game. But Ravens doing the Ravens things. Getting a lead early. Being explosive. And then pounding the football and just choking that clock out. Choking their opponent by just bleeding that clock. And not giving them a chance to really get back into it. The Commanders were into it the whole game. But the Ravens just playing Ravens football. And, yeah, looking pretty damn good. Cooling off a red-hot Commanders team. The Vikings moved out 1 spot. They're in the bye. They moved out 1 spot because of how impressive the Lions were. Lions at 2. They just dominated the Cowboys on every single facet of the game. I felt like they should move up over the Vikings here. They running the football, passing the football. They did whatever the frick they wanted. And defensive wise, great. They did whatever they wanted on defense too. The Cowboys couldn't do anything on offense, and Lions really good at stopping the run. Cowboys couldn't get run going, couldn't get anything going. And it just felt like towards the end of the game, the Lions were just playing with the Cowboys. And then number 1, you have the Chiefs. Yeah, no reason to move them down yet. There's no reason to move them down. I mean, maybe they're not as good as the record shows because all their games have been pretty damn close. The most convincing one was versus the Saints, and we just saw what the Bucs did versus the Saints. They're very beat up. Don't get me wrong, they're very beat up. They're very depleted. But their defense is still so strong. And when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, I mean, anything's possible. So, all right, guys, that's our power rankings for Week 7. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It was interesting week. Don't forget this was an incorporation of Week 6 as well, or Week 5 and 6. So it was really 2 weeks into one because last week I wasn't able to get the video up for power rankings. So it is what it is. But yeah, these are my power rankings for Week 7. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. This is the JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.